Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the latest edition of the World Report. I'm Scott Crowfoot. We'd like to welcome the folks of Norway to our growing list of worldwide viewers. On today's report, is the Fed concerned about the ghost of 1937? We'll explain. Putin says Russia is beefing up its nuclear arsenal at the same time that we are shrinking ours. President Obama releases 6 more Gitmo detainees, only this time it's Osama bin Laden's bodyguards. The Donald launches his presidential bid and does not mince words in his announcement. Today's moment in history, the unsung hero who helped win World War II. And now to our top stories. Border communities are bracing for another wave of immigrants from South America. A new report says 60% of New Yorkers do not speak English at home, while New York City Democrats seek to boost immigrant voter registration. 10% of Lewiston, Maine are now Somali refugees. Joining me is the World Report Senior Advisor, economics blogger for USA Today Online, Morris Beschloss, who can be followed on Twitter at @mbeschloss. Maury, all this influx of immigrants from all over the world, is it inevitable that America will become a third world country?
No, I think you're going a little too far. Let's say it's diluting everything that this country stands for. And if you can look into the future and nobody does anything about restrictions of this willy-nilly way of breaking down the Constitution, I think we will not be the country that we were hoping we someday would be, and were in the 80s when Reagan was president.
Now, a lot of people will look at Reagan and say that's actually when the immigration wave or the nightmare actually began, was with his first amnesty. It hasn't slowed down since. Is there a point where we have enough legal and illegal? And I hear all the time people saying, oh, I support legal immigration. It's the backbone of our country. But at some point, don't we have enough people to feed?
No, you see, the thing is, Western countries, Western Europe and the United States do not reproduce themselves anymore. So I checked this out, and I was amazed to know that the quota for immigration into this country every year is 7 million. There's 7 million people. Now, this is students, this is people coming in for doing specialized work, but the point is the quota itself to be filled can be filled by 7 million people from all over the world. And the reason why this country has doubled its population from 160 million to 320 million since the middle of the last century, it's amazing. Since 1955, we have doubled our population, and we are now the third most populous country in the world, exceeded only by China and India.
But you also look at the fact that we have 1/3 of the country not working, a large percentage of the country on welfare and food stamps. It's becoming a nanny welfare state, and who's going to pay for it?
Well, you know what the worst part of it wouldn't have to be, because we have the natural resources. We are blessed, if there's such a thing as a good Lord blessing a country with everything they can possibly have. We have, with fracking, we are now the #1 producer of oil, and we can double that production. Natural gas can do all kinds of things, liquid natural gas, converted into liquid for the chemical industry. There are all kinds of things. We could put everybody to work. But then we have a president who runs this country like Hitler ran Germany. He has people working for him. He ignores Congress, and he says to the agencies, don't allow anything that's going to affect the climate. You know, the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. Now he's using the Antiquities Law. Do you know what the Antiquities Law is?
No.
That says anything that is part of the tradition and history of the United States cannot be touched, because 2/3 of our lands are still federal. 2/3 of this huge country of ours is federal lands, which allows the president and the Congress to say what's going to happen. Off limits. But it's not the Congress, it's strictly the president. So now it's not enough that the EPA is limiting business. It's the fact that also if it's considered traditional and historical, which every place is, you can't do it. The senior senator from Alaska complained about that. She said the only oil we have left to produce is now running out up in Prudhoe Bay, up in north. We've got all kinds of oil ready to be produced, natural gas, but they won't let us touch it because of the antiquities law. That's how I found out about the antiquities law, which I didn't even know existed.
Unbelievable. We're bringing in Somali refugees. We're bringing in Syrian refugees. We're bringing in Ethiopia. I mean, all over the place. But we're not bringing in people, and this may sound a little harsh, but we're not bringing in people that are actually giving a productive edge to America. We're bringing in people that are going on the welfare state.
Well,
we're basically bringing in third worlders.
You know, the worst part of this is the real unique drive of workers and labor and business working together are what I call the independent business. You are an independent businessman. You make decisions for your company. There are several million of those, going from maybe $50,000 a year to $5 billion a year. What's making them different from GE or DuPont or Caterpillar or Boeing or the big ones is the fact that it's a company run by a person on site. Most distributors, for instance, are independent businesses. And we have more independent businesses in this country than the rest of the world put together, because independent spirit, developing new technology. Silicon Valley was strictly the product of independent business people. The things that have made this country great are thinkers that came out, you know, a guy like Alexander Graham Bell, who invented the telephone. You can name all kind of people that did this. The
Edisons, the Teslas.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's because the restrictions for great thinkers was taken away when this country was formed. Now we are trying to get the worst of what every other country in the world has. The sickening political correctness that has been imposed on this country today is taking us back where Europe was, and it's getting worse every day. You know where the real future of the world lies right now? 11 East Asian countries. China and India are the biggest, but you got Indonesia, you've got Taiwan, you've got South Korea. Those countries are doing great because they are now taken up where the United States left off. They're setting up their own banking system, their own trading system, and they're going to be the ones that are going to be looking down at us as we shoot ourselves in the foot and in the head.
So you also look at the immigration policies of Europe, like you just mentioned. They've actually started to put a stop to it because it's gotten out of hand. England and France have been overrun.
England and France started this. France actually did it because Algeria and Tunisia were part of France. They weren't colonies. At least they played the game as if they were a department of France. And you know, they had a terrible war there in the 1950s. And then when de Gaulle came in, he embraced Algeria and allowed people from Algeria to come into France. So France now has 7 million Muslims out of a population of about 50 million. And these people are not good people. They're the ones that are causing us most of the trouble.
Speaking of not good people, there is a report that over 120 people that were let out of jail, that were illegal aliens, that have committed serious crimes, have committed murders since they've been let out. So everybody likes to treat these people like, oh, they're so family-oriented. They just want to come here to work and do the jobs Americans won't do. That's not absolutely true.
Well,
a lot of these people are committing crimes.
It was, you know, it started in the 1930s in California, the grape pickers, and those were good people. I mean, but they only had temporary permits in order to do a job.
And they went back.
And they went back, that's right. But now there's this sickening evolution of trying to take shortcomings of the past and making them part of the policy of the United States. You know, if we didn't have states like Arizona, which is still maintaining its strength of its American status, and they don't want a lot of ragtag people coming in. And when I say ragtag people, I mean people who are not here to do us any good. They're here, they're criminals coming from South America, Central America, Mexico.
MS-13 has a huge presence here now.
Absolutely.
And there's a report that over 25% of the population of Mexico now is in the United States. That may be a little bit high, but if it's even close to being accurate, I don't know how America turns it around.
The point is, you know, we've been over this over and over again. A border is there to be protected. You know, we're not, Canada only has 36 million people. A lot of people don't know that. Canada is the second largest acreage of any country in the world.
And do you realize that 90% of them live within 100 miles of the U.S. border?
Yes. Yeah, but it's a country that, it's the only country that escaped the great financial crisis, the Great Recession that we had from 2008, and it's still with us today, by the way, parts of it anyway. So consequently, Canada has stuck to its guns and is not allowing things to happen that we are allowing here every day.
Not only allowing, we're embracing and supporting it. And I just don't know how we can pay for it and how long it can last.
And the universities are teaching it.
Absolutely. We need to step away for a brief moment, and we return with our economic and energy update. We get lots of questions from viewers all over the world. It's simple. It's free. Just email your question or video to Maury@theworldreport.org, and we might just feature your input. Remember to like us, recommend us, and